Start, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dear professionals from across the nation. So, wonderful good afternoon to you again. Myself, Neeraj Arora, I am Senior Director at ASSOCHAM and look after the GEM Green Building Certification Program of ASSOCHAM. So, friends, as all of you are aware that we are organizing this 7 days mega event on sustainability, Sustainability and Realty Confluence Expo and Award 2020. So today is our 7th and last day and last webinar. And today's webinar is very much special for us because today's webinar is specifically on green warehousing and logistic hubs, the way forward. You all can understand the importance of warehousing and logistics hubs. I mean, it was this industry who saved us in last 8 months and definitely going to save us in future months also. So that's why we are organizing this wonderful webinar. And today we are going to launch our green warehouse and logistic hubs rating also in the later half of this session. So I will not take much of your time. We have wonderful line of speakers for you. And I would like to invite Mr. Kushagra Juneja to please coordinate the program. Mr. Kushagra Juneja is the co-chairman of ASSOCHAM's GEM Green Rating Program. And this is the effort of Architect Gaurav Varmani ji and Kushagra Juneja and team, those who have wonderfully prepared this green warehouse and logistic hubs rating for ASSOCHAM GEM. So thank you, team Gaurav Varmani ji and Kushagra. Kushagra is the managing partner of Design to Occupancy, a leading green building and energy auditing consultancy firm. So over to you, Kushagra.
Thank you, Neeraj, for your kind introduction, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to all the participants today. I'd like to welcome all of you in this landmark event where we'll be launching the green warehouse rating of ASSOCHAM. And apart from this, we'll also be having a great panel discussion with over 8 panelists today discussing what is the way forward in warehouse green rating system. And at the end of the session, whatever we have the takeaways, we would try to incorporate them in the next versions of the green warehouse rating program of ASSOCHAM. To briefly introduce our moderator for today, we have well-known renowned architect Gaurav Varmani ji. Gaurav ji is a renowned name in the field of architecture and project management with his vast experience. And I would like to say to his cap, he has the added feather of winning the CNBC Best Warehouse Design Global Logistics Excellence Award. And it says miles about him. He's been in the industry for over 2 decades now. And with his leadership and under his guidance, the rating for warehouse, a green warehouse for ASSOCHAM has been prepared. I'd like to invite Gaurav ji to take the session forward and congratulate the entire team for coming up with such a beautiful program. Thank you, everyone, and over to you, Gaurav ji.
Thank you, Kushagra. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. And I welcome all our panelists and delegates to this session. It's been really great initiative from ASSOCHAM to bring out this reality and sustainability conference over the last 7 days. We have had marathon sessions. We have had 14 sessions with more than 100 speakers, majorly all focused around sustainability being the core concern of our association. Within the ambit and the umbrella of ASSOCHAM, we have formed a council by the name of GEMS Council, which is a Green Energy Movement Council. And all these initiatives are part of the same efforts, which is led by Mr. Pankaj Dharkar. He will be joining us a bit late today in the session, and we'll do the launch as well. So coming to our topic for the day, the design of warehouses and logistic hub and the way forward. I would just briefly talk about the quantum of industry and where we are today. So logistics, as we all know, has been recognized as a full-fledged industry, and it has been given that importance. And going by the figures what we have today, and the way this industry is growing, and with e-commerce catching up, with pharmaceutical catching up, today we'll have Mr. Krishnakant also on our panel, with the pharma sector becoming the in thing due to COVID and Amazon pushing in, and Flipkarts, Amazons, everybody is into logistics. And as a layman also, people have started realizing the importance of this sector, that the growth of sector is paramount. It has always been there, but it's a key driving factor for our growth of the economy going the way forward. Today, as we stand, the current setup in India of grade A plus grade B facilities in terms of warehousing is around 200 million square feet as we talk. And it's always going. This is the kind of numbers which we get, which is already occupied today. And over the next 10 years, if we see the kind of growth which is anticipated in this sector, so it might go up to, I would say, it might touch to around 1 billion of square feet. So there is so much which is happening in this industry and this warehousing segment, and it needs to be really structured well in the sustainable framework of the environment, putting the least impact on the resources, natural resources of our Mother Earth. And to safeguard it, we need to be really conscious how we go about it, what all we do, so that it becomes a driving force for our future times and our future generations. Because you can see the numbers which will be coming into this, and 1 billion square feet is a big number over the next 10 years, which we foresee happening into this segment. So we would touch upon various aspects as we go in the session today. And with the outline framework of ASSOCHAM, I'll just briefly talk about the rating systems which we have evolved. So we have tried to carve out the guidelines specific to warehousing and logistic hubs. It was quite a challenging task to address all the issues pertaining to this growing industry in view of such diversity and usage patterns. We had to address a developer's perspective from a logistic hub, which is, as we talk, more than 100-acre plus facilities, huge, large complexes happening 24/7 operations. Then we have standalone warehouses, a smaller segment. Then we have a 3PL setup also coming in, where the leasing major segment is happening this way, that these warehouses are being leased. So the developer has a different perspective to talk about, and the 3PL user has a different perspective. So combining all of them into this was a challenging task, which we've tried our best, and always there's room for improvement and suggestions which will come out of these as we go along with the ratings and certifications of projects. And we hope to keep improvising it and make it more sustainable for the environment and for the industry as well. And we hope to have at least 100 projects registered within the next year or so, which will be certified green projects, specifically in the warehouse segment. That is our vision, for at least for now, at least more than 100 projects registered in the next 1 year. So I would like to highlight few of our key differentiating factors which we have specifically kept into mind in this rating system. apart from the regular ratings of energy conservation, water conservation, putting into use the solar, harness renewable energies, we have a very special fire and life safety in our program. That is a focus area for us in GEM rating overall and specifically for warehouse when we talk of warehousing. Then efficient use of material, vehicles. In this case, vehicles become a very important aspect because whatever comes into our facility should actually move out quickly without with minimum of difficulty, I would say. So there we have made specific emphasis on our rating system. Then use of electric vehicles is what we see in the future, and we would like to propagate that as well. So any facility using uh, dedicated electrical vehicles for internal movement will also get special credits in our rating program. Best use of construction materials, construction technologies, project management solutions, sustainable packaging solutions, supply chain solutions, indoor quality in context of warehousing. This was a very important aspect because indoor air quality of a facility where there is no occupant, where there are very few occupants on a regular basis. So people tend to ignore that aspect, but then this has a very important role to play in our rating systems because whether it is a warehouse or any other facility, indoor air quality is today also with us who will talk only on this aspect. And waste management is a important criteria which has been given due credits in the program. So I won't take too much of time today, and I would like to introduce our panelists, our esteemed panelists today. So we have Mr. Vivek Dahiya in our panel. Hi Vivek, and he's the logistics and industries from
Hi, Gaurav.
Mr. Vivek
Thanks for the
Dahiya is a
opportunity.
leading authority on hi. Thank you. So he's a leading authority on Indian real estate. He has advised Indian and multinational firms, institutional investors, developers, retailers, government bodies on framing their real estate strategies over India. He has almost 20 years of real estate research, consulting, valuation, and transaction experience. Vivek started his career with JLL and he's been one of the early members of the consulting team in India and Singapore. He then transitioned to the tenant representation team of JLL, advising his clients in acquisitions of office spaces across India. Thereafter, he founded Delhi office of DTZ in India. And in both JLL and DTZ, Vivek concluded office acquisitions assignments for his clients, which then were the largest leasing transactions of Delhi NCR region. He brings the unique experience of having advised across multiple asset classes in all key markets of India. As a regular writer on real estate issues, Vivek's opinions have been widely covered and acknowledged across news dailies and social media. Thank you, Vivek, for joining us today. Then we have Mr. James Anderson. Welcome, James. He's the head of development at Logos India. Logos has come into India from Australia and setting up good warehouses here. James will give us more insights into their growth happening in the country. And he leads the development and delivery teams of the national platform. He has over 12 years of operational, commercial, and execution experience in real estate development, as well as project management of large commercial and execution experience in the real estate development, as well as in the project management of large-scale commercial and industrial property across APAC. James has
Good afternoon to all. Thanks for having me.
Good afternoon, James. Good afternoon. James has in-depth negotiation skills and financial and market analytics to support investment decisions making and support growth strategies. Prior to joining Logos, he was with Landlease Corporation Australia, handling commercial as well as infrastructure portfolios. We are privileged to have James with us. Then we have Mr. Arif Siddiqui, a well-known name in the industry with over 33 years of experience in sales, warehousing, operations, business management. And out of his 33 years, I think 27 years has been into supply chain and contract logistics. RF has formed, he's the founder of Coin Consulting based out of Mumbai and I suppose Dubai as well, providing supply chain infrastructure, logistic parks, fulfillment centers, design consultancy services. So a lot of companies take his consulting services. Coin Consulting has a collective domestic and international experience of designing over 30 million square feet of modern warehouse floor layouts and logistic parks for ambient cold storage, air-conditioned warehouses, open yards, and micro in-city distribution and fulfillment centers catering to the high-tech pharmaceutical, chemical, agri-commodities, heavy engineering, printing, auto spares, retail, e-commerce, FMCG, and food processing industries. Wow.
Good
Has
afternoon.
his experience across platforms. Good afternoon, Arif.
Good afternoon, please. How are you all?
Thank you. And we have Mr. Hemant, I think, hasn't joined in as yet. So we'll just introduce him a bit later. He comes from a background from Hiranandani community. And he's the CEO of Infrastructure, Logistics, and Industries in the Hiranandani communities. And under the brand name, they are doing green-based industrial parks, which has been initiated by him. Then we have Mr. Krishnakant Parab on our panel today. Welcome, Mr. Krishnakant. He's a senior director with Sanofi Group India, supply chain leader with 38 years of experience in pharmaceuticals, animal health business, and FMCG corporations. So during his professional career, he has trained through executive programs in supply chain management at IIM Ahmedabad and was also exposed to many leadership assignments. Mr. Krishnakant is currently the CEO of supply chain with Sanofi Group, overseeing India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka supply chain operations. In his working span, he has steered key assignments in the area of commercial, physical distribution, customer engagement systems, rollouts, setting up large storage warehouses, and harmonization of networks consequent to merger and acquisitions. Mr. Krishnakant is well networked in the domain of supply chain, and we are privileged to have him here. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, friends.
Good afternoon. Then we have Mr. Anil Das joining us today from Air Care Engineering. They specialize in HVAC systems. They have developed some solutions and products which are specific to the warehouse segment. And Mr. Anil Das is the VP Sales from Air Care Engineering. And he primarily focuses on bringing new and emerging technologies in the HVAC systems with air structures and indoor air quality and evangelizing new technology in India by partnering and knowledge sharing with world leaders in HVAC business. Welcome, Mr. Das.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind introduction.
Thank you. Welcome. So we hope to have a great session. And Mr. Rajesh Agarwal is also with us. He is the chairman of the ASSOCHAM Committee for Events and Exhibition Partners. And we partner in PDA Consultants, which is a renowned name in VP Engineering across the country. Thank you, Mr. Rajesh, for joining us today. Thank you. So, friends, let us have a great round of discussion. We'll go around trying to design a green warehouse solution and a logistics hub with focus on sustainability so that we can all grow with this sustainable environment and take the country forward with our new vision of warehouses, logistic hubs. So I would like to have my first question to Mr. James Anderson. That the question is that why is there a need for solutions in a warehouse environment wherein there is hardly any human occupancy? So what kind of internal policy does Logos have? We would be very keen to understand that from you, James. To in creating sustainable built environments?
Yeah, I think as a large scale developer and any large scale development that is undertaken, we have a need and obligation, given the nature of our activity, particularly for the industrial sector. Usually we're operating on the urban city fringe. So that means the conversion of what is either rural or kind of semi-agricultural land. So largely greenscape. And what predominantly are we doing? We're converting that into industrial estates that are predominantly kind of concrete and steel, so they're hard material. With that also then comes resultant effects. So you've got the heat island effect, because what would happen is what would be a field then gets converted into an industrial estate, and then you've got that what would have been absorption into the ground actually goes back up into the environment. So we have this residual effect which occurs from the nature of our activity. And then given that, again, we're changing the land dynamics, natural reticulation of water and groundwater absorption into the water table. Again, all those flows and those patterns that actually would happen naturally through what would have been the untouched land, it gets adjusted. So that is a consideration that we have to. It's a consideration we have to factor into the design of our estates, and actually gives us the responsibility to what we can do to again negate the damage we're doing. In terms of the policies, I think it has to be quite a streamlined and targeted approach, because you can only do so much, and then again you want to make what you can do very effective. So that usually spans design, procurement, construction and operation. And again, what sustainability factors can you draw on those four core requirements? So for us, in terms of construction, a big one we look to is prefabrication and pre-assembly. Now, it's not directly correlated to sustainability, but what it does is the more you build off-site, usually the less wastage. So you actually avoid the wastage component, or what comes when you undertake in situ building on a construction site. So that's a very important component. And then also resultingly, when you're building off-site, it's in a more controlled environment. So safety is also improved, quality is improved, and again, materiality is usually the better performance. And then in the life cycle of your building, you're replacing less, you're repairing less, and that also is reducing wastage. So that's a component that's very important. The second is, again, around water, and we have a very targeted strategy around water. Usually where we develop, the aquifer has been damaged due to the agricultural usage on that site. And again, water in India is quite hard. Some sites you don't have a connection, or the board water maybe not be of good quality for usage. So therefore we invest a lot in water storage and capture. And I think we have to do that more. Underground tanks, above ground tanks, and using that again internally within development. A long-term objective for all, which is very far reaching, is to become water and energy neutral. And I think it's achievable in time. And I think with greater awareness and when there's less market price sensitivities, I think there'll be a greater commitment to that. And I think, again, progressively we'll head towards that year on year as these resources become more invaluable. Power, again, there's a lot of talk around power, and I think it's quite a tangible one, and that's around solar. What else can we do there? Maybe in other forms, wind is something we could do maybe in a small scale to complement that. And again, the conversion of infrastructure using electricity, again, light poles and machinery to be, again, more advanced and more efficient. Materiality is getting better. I think the use of recycled componentry in amongst material is getting more so, and that's constantly advancing. And there is a lot of awareness and usage on that, because again, it's not often more expensive. So that is an evolving technology, and a green provision. I think, again, from what we're converting, predominantly for us, it's greenfields. It's putting a greater green provision than your regulatory requirement. I think that's quite an important commitment most developers make. So again, that's always our intent, to put more back than what the requirement is, and I think we all should be trying to do that. And when in those areas, density of plantation. Again, how do we absorb that heat, and how do we, again, carbon capture what we've just removed? So they're I think, the predominant nature and internal policies that have to be considered for a large-scale developer.
Thank you, James. Thank you for the wonderful insights, and I think Logos is truly committed to driving this forward, and with their warehouses, it will be a direction which at times, in future times, people will be able to follow more. Truly sustainable thoughts and truly sustainable models.
We believe so. Thank you.
Next, yeah. So next we would like to have views from Mr. Arif and Mr. Kushagra. The question would be that we encourage routine buildings to consider aspects such as proximity to local communities, transport, etc. However, warehouses are often located in remote locations. As a green warehouse. So, over to you, Mr. Arif.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for this very interesting question. Yes, so it's a fact that warehouses are located in remote locations. It's very relative. I mean, if you ask people staying in the city who have everything to do with the city, they would say that it's in a remote location. But actually, to be honest, the warehouses in India are not really in remote locations. They're hardly 35, 40, 45 kilometers away from the center of the city, which is not actually remote, so that's one point. The second driving factor in terms of location of a warehouse is predominantly to do with the cost of land, because over the real estate class, this is the lowest in the scale of classes, with respect to the fact that, in terms of returns and in terms of ground coverage that is available in those areas, the cost of land plays an important role as an input to the overall project. And therefore, if you come too close to the city or you come within the city limits, the cost of lands are exorbitant because the lands there are cut out for residential and commercial use, so that is the other driving factor. The third driving factor in terms of location would be its proximity to the highways, and the connecting radial roads, which connect you to multiple highways, etc. So keeping these three broad parameters in mind, the location of a warehouse is conveniently around. If you look at the city planning, it works out to approximately anywhere from 35, 40 kilometers to 50 to 60 kilometers, depending on the city that we're talking about as such. Coming to the green part, to the better half of the question, in terms of green. Actually, to be very honest with you, I've been designing warehouses for the past 15 years, and before that, I was operating in a warehouse for 15 years. So, being 30 years in this industry, what I have seen is that green is nothing that is new. Green is something which has, and sustainable buildings have been existing for a very long time. The fact is that, the way they've been defined, unfortunately, the way they were defined, the awareness was not created. I mean, we've had ventilation systems right from the for the several years, but the fact is that people have not been aware of these elements that qualify them to be green buildings, Fundamentally, in our opinion of design and our basis of designs, the overall concept is to reduce the impact of the built infrastructure on human health and natural environment. That has been the key factor of all the design bases, and I think all buildings revolve around ensuring that the built infrastructure has minimum environmental impact and has minimum human health impact, which then leads to efficiency of use of energy, efficient use of energy. It leads to protecting occupants' health and improving overall productivity. And of course, most important aspect, which has been fundamentally in consideration for a very long time, has been the reduction of waste, reduction of pollution, and ensuring that the environmental degradation is contained within limits. I think these are the key factors through which buildings are predominantly designed. One of the important aspects, I'm going right down to the brass tacks. If you look at design elements, simple things, we all wish to see that in warehouses there are trees that are available. Nooks and corners are left underdeveloped where you can actually end up planting maybe a few trees, a few shrubs, little bit of greenscape. I mean, I have seen that developers develop buildings. I'm not talking of the few five well-known developers or 10 well-known developers. I'm talking of the mass, because the environmental impact happens in the country when you start addressing the mass. You know, if you're talking of 2 billion square feet of space, then the top 4-5 names that we keep hearing and talking about contribute to hardly 10 to 15% of that 2 billion. Okay. The fact is that the larger billion, okay, part of the billion is actually the masses who have got 100,000 square feet facility, 200,000 square feet facility. Unless there are paradigm shifts at that end, the impact on environment will not be really positive. We will see that in very small phases. So plantation, no smoking zones, campus designed, to make sure that today in contemporary world, make sure that there are battery charging stations for vehicles, or for that matter, for bikes and so cars. Low flow water fixtures are very important aspects which are now being used in residential as well as commercial complexes. But in industrial complexes, we are still very, very far from this understanding. Pedestrian ramps and handrails, basic safety of human being, forms a part of sustainability. So I think human lives in India slowly is gaining certain importances, and therefore we see that things like handrails and non-conflicting paths between vehicles and humans are now emerging as part of good designs, and architects and designers have started considering these elements which are important. Toilets, very basic facility like toilets for men and women, and specifically when we talk about women, toilets for handicap. I mean, if you look at the olden warehouses or even the large numbers that still exist, I mean, I'm saying designed 10 years, don't have simple facilities like toilet facilities, and what to talk about toilet facilities for men, for women. They don't have toilet facilities for drivers, who drive 1,000, 1,500 kilometers and then they come and they start piddling on the walls, So these basic elements, have always been important, and I think these are things that need to be harped by all design people. They need to be enforced. I would like most of the architects to say that if you are not going to provide for a toilet and a driver's toilet, of reality. So these are various aspects. Facilities are very important. As I talked about, restrooms, washrooms, medical facilities, canteen in large infrastructure. When we talk about logistics, they have warehouses because that gives them rent. But how many of them have these ancillary facilities along with the rented facilities? Because these ancillary facilities are facilities, social facilities, don't generate revenue, but they add to the entire value of that human habitation. Okay, so these types of facilities become essential when we talk about large developed infrastructure overall. Fire safety, I think all of us are going to talk about fire safety, so I would not dwell too much on that, but it is a given. The warehouses are sitting bombs, and the way they are currently being designed, the optimization that is being done on buildings, to cut down the cost of the building, highly, optimizing things which are more regulatory in nature. Fire doesn't seem to be a part of design. It's a part of exception just because you want to be compliant to the next door chief fire officer. It's not because you want to save material or you want to save your people. So warehouses are sitting bombs because you got so much of paper and cardboard there. There's so much of plastic. There's so much of electrical connective. There is so much that burns. And the buildings, when they burn, they're metal buildings, they crumple. They don't stay like RCC buildings. They crumple. I know cargo burns, billions of dollars of cargo burns. So it is so important that we spend time on these 2-3 factors, and of which fire becomes an important part. I'm sure my colleagues are going to talk a lot more on fires. Traffic. Traffic is another aspect which people don't consider. I mean, I was developing a warehouse, and then this developer says, "But sir, we don't receive 40-foot containers." I said, "You don't receive 40-foot containers today. What will happen in the next 5 years? What will happen if you get a customer who's importing material?" So these are things that I think they need to understand the operations. Warehouses are operating buildings. Therefore, people who come from supply chain background, operations background, are the best people who will be able to give you design inputs to design, because they understand the operations of the warehouses. So these are as important aspects. Vehicle parkings are not there. So you can imagine, when you don't have vehicle parking, vehicles queue up, outside warehouses, and then you got the human safety aspect that comes in, because the driver jumps out of the vehicle, fine, he's got no place to sit, settle, etc., and then you end up with traffic conflicts and accidents and so on and so forth. Efficient loading and unloading is so important, because that leads to both safety. It saves energy, it saves productive. It helps in improving productivity. So good effort needs to be put on loading and unloading. I think when we talk about 1.2 meters of plinth, it's like standard 1.2 meters all across. What happens when you've got city-oriented vehicles which are actually going to the city? They don't have a plinth height of, they are not compatible to a plinth height of 1.2 meters. Okay, there the plinth height requirements are anywhere from 600 to 750 millimeters. What do we do in such a scenario? Dock levelers don't support that, because your inclination is minus 300 there, so it doesn't support that. It's not safe. So therefore, I haven't yet to see warehouses which are able to support both, large and heavy commercial vehicles, as well as MCVs and LCVs together on the same dock. So these are very, very important operational inputs that need to go in for designing, which make the infrastructure sustainable. Fine. At the same time, all the green aspects of stormwater drain systems, rainwater harvesting, sewage treatment plants, etc., I mean, regardless of the discussion, are essential elements in the warehouses. And we are seeing that small developers, we have started pushing a lot of our mid-sized and small developers to adopt the green concepts, to adopt sustainable building elements, because that's what will help them in the future to fetch a good return on investment that they would make. So I would always encourage the small ones, the large, the mids, everyone, regardless. I mean, it will pay off in productivity, it will pay off in efficiency. Thank you.
Thank you, Arif. Kushagra, you would like to add something on this?
Kushagra, you are not audible. Kushagra?
Kushagra, not there.
Check your audio connection, please.
Am I audible now?
Yes,
now
perfect.
Great. Okay, so I was saying great points put forward by Arif, and one thing that I'd like to put forward in context of your question, that why are buildings put near public places? Why do we want any building to be in the vicinity of a city or a community? The reason is because there are people inside it who would want to access a post office, a hospital, a public service, a railway station, a bus stand. In case of a warehouse, it's a very different kind of building. It's not something that people are accessing day in, day out. Nobody's going to the grocery from a warehouse. Nobody's going to access a post office or a bank from a warehouse. So the need for it to be in the close vicinity of the city or any amenities is also not really there. What Sir Arif rightly said was the basic things that need to be kept in mind, whether it is the toilets for the drivers or the people occupying it, or it is the landscapes that are left untouched. Those things really don't look very attractive in terms of ROI as an initial investment. But when you look at the operational cost, when you look at the long-term ROIs, it will definitely make sense. So I think there is no need to copy a conventional building where we say provide access to community, provide access to a neighborhood, provide access to so many facilities. I think that is irrelevant in case of a warehouse. What we should focus on is small little things that make a large difference. Thank you.
Incidentally, I would also
Thank you.
like to add just half a minute.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, incidentally,
sure.
I would like to add that the overall paradigm is changing. Potentially a 100,000 square feet warehouse can actually house about 200 to 250 people, and sometimes more. Because when you come to occupation by an e-commerce company, or even for a B2B company, you would find that you could get up to maybe 150 to 200 people on a 100,000 square feet to 120,000 square feet facility. Imagine a logistics park, which is a 1 million square feet facility. How many people are going to be working there? You can have more than 2 to 3,000 people. Now, 2 to 3,000 people by any Indian standards is a small village.
Large factory.
It's a large factory, or it's a small village. I mean, a mid-sized village in India is 3,000 people. Enough for the politicians to be attracted to vote. It's a good vote bank. My point is that these 3,000 people, they need everything there. They need to withdraw money to go back home because they don't reach home on time. So they need a bank or an ATM for that matter. They sometimes fall sick, so they need a pharmaceutical and a clinic there. They need everything from that point of view, and they need sometimes grocery stores, pharma stores, all the essential stuff, bread, egg, etc., to carry home. So from that, half of them are bachelors. They are in their very early 20s and are bachelors, so they want to carry stuff and go home. So the whole thing is creating a nice, comfortable ecosystem that you belong to, where people are coming in and going out on a day-to-day basis, and they feel proud to work there, rather than feeling, oh shit, I wish I scored a few 10% more, I would have been working in a corporate office. I think that's what we need to address. That we need to address this, and it is changing. You see it changing.
Yeah. Okay. Now, a pertinent question in the whole context to Mr. Vivek, that since he's between the developer and the end user, Vivek, we would like to hear from you that how do we justify the costs which are incurred in providing a sustainable initiative? There's a cost perspective to it in a project, vis-a-vis the ROIs and the leasing rentals attached to the same. Can a developer command the extra lease rental? Where does he find the comfort or reconcile to the benefits in the short term or the long term perspective? Over to you, Vivek.
Yeah, thanks, Gaurav. A very basic question which everybody has in mind when they go for either doing a green building or doing automation in the warehouses. That's the first question that comes to everybody's mind in their supply chain systems. Now, the short and sweet answer to your question is no. There is no upside that a developer can expect only because of this. The way markets have evolved in India, and I'll try to take examples from how office real estate evolved in the last 10-15 years, and which is the same trend that we're seeing in warehousing as well. Having a green building is now something which is good to have. It'll allow the developer to get shortlisted for evaluation. So if you have 3 options that you're evaluating and 2 of them are green, so they will probably get ranked higher than a building which is not green. But it is unlikely that those 2 boxes will end up commanding higher rental purely because of just one element that they are green. There will be a lot of other elements that will go into deciding the final pricing for that structure. So historically, we've seen firms across all asset classes, and again, I dip into the office bit, where this is as more and more grade A warehouses come into India. So, while you gave the figure of 200 odd million stock, most of it historically has been grade B. It's only grade A warehouses which have started coming up in the recent past, where foreign capital and Indian institutions started building good quality assets. It is becoming more of a given an understanding and expectation of Indian and international corporates who are tenants in these boxes that these buildings would be sustainable, they would be green, we did not have a rating system or a structure around it. One could prove that these structures are sustainable and green, which, for example, you've done and other agencies have done. So it's a good start there. But it is something which is a good element in the decision-making process. I doubt that it will end up resulting in a higher rental for a developer, more so in the post-COVID world. In the current circumstances, almost all the tenants that we are speaking to are looking at rationalizing or in their costs or figuring out how best to conserve their expenses in the short and medium term. And in those times where the CFOs run the show and a supply chain eventually is a cost to the company, it will be difficult for firms to increase their price based on whether it's a green building or whether it's anything else. The focus remains on cost in the near futures, and it will remain on costs for a while to come, because we're not out of this entire post-COVID world. The economies across the world and in India are still struggling to get out of it. Till that pressure and pain remains in the system, we don't expect a massive jump in commercial rentals because of any new feature that comes in. The recommendation that we would give to every developer is to focus on costs. Most of our clients who are coming to us, many of them, besides the e-commerce expansion requirements, most of the other regular clients that are coming to us, who are probably clients to the 3PL firms, are coming with the objective: can I consolidate and reduce my cost? Can I relocate to a cheaper location? Where can I find economies to make sure that my supply chain costs reduce? So everybody keeps talking about how GST helped in warehousing growth across in India, which is absolutely true. But when you speak to a supply chain professional, they'll say the day GST was implemented, our CFOs said, now show me your 10 to 15% cost reduction in your warehousing cost, in your transport cost. So eventually it's about the numbers, and especially in the next 12 to 18 months, the cost savings will remain the highlight for almost every tenant.
Tough situation, but let's see, as the grade A develops and as it takes shape, we can look at more sustainable initiatives being taken by the developers, and definitely it will pay back, maybe not immediately, maybe in a slightly longer perspective. So today we have Mr. Krishnakant, and with the COVID scenario and the COVID vaccine coming in, his presence in the country and the demand of Sanofi is all the more growing, and the infrastructure needs to be well in place. So a question which we would request Mr. Krishnakant to answer is, when we look at cold chain and pharma sectors, sustainability gathers much more relevance. So what, according to you, are the key areas that need to be addressed to make the facility more useful rather?
Okay. Yeah. So good evening, everybody. I am perhaps the only person who is from the user's standpoint parting to this. So let me take a small pause and compliment ASSOCHAM and its member for the tangible evolution of warehousing in the industry. Okay. Now I have to say this because I have been in the industry for long, and I have seen so many changes over the years from the warehousing standpoint. I still recall those days. I work for a pharma company, okay, which is largely in the insulin business, okay, one of the major business category. And I used to go often to Frankfurt in Germany for the supply chain reviews. And I remember, 15 years back, I used to go there, and visit the warehouse, which was such a fantastically designed, okay. It is 7-storied, articulated forklift, okay. Andrew Wagner, I remember our site director used to take me and show me how the pallet is, drawn from the 7th, line to the ground line automatically. So I was just wondering in those days, when would this technology come to India? And I'm really, really happy to see that, it is last 3 to 4 years. Okay, there has been significant and tangible change that has happened in the warehousing, and which is really good. Okay, which is bringing us to the in the line of the what to be the right way of handling the products. And to that extent, I want to really compliment you and your members for creating. So as we talk, we have lots of players like Indospace, Logo, DB Shankar, Kunal Nagal, and not only that, I also see that the local players, okay, with the help of people like Arif, etc., are developing very fantastic warehousing facilities, which is a really good thing to happen. And coming to your question of pharma, okay, I represent pharma, so I'll really look upon or talk about a little bit of cold chain, which is a happening topic at the moment in pharma sector. So sustainability to me, okay, is not only the overall ecosystem. Sustainability to me is also the way we handle our product, the way we handle our waste, okay, the way we really handle our MHEs, the way we handle our temperature monitoring system, and obviously the people working there. So the cold chain in pharma, okay, as you know, it has got multiple categories, product categories, okay, and they have to be treated, okay. So we are normal pharma product which is to be kept in a cool area. We have vaccine which are to be done in the in the area to be stored in the refrigeration at 2 to 8 degrees. We have super cool, which is basically blood products, or super cool product which are to be kept or agents. And obviously we have extra super cool, which is high end antibiotic, or for that matter the vaccine that are expected to come, which require a temperature conditioning of 80 to 90 centigrade. So these are the various kinds of and also we have some products, okay, which are extremely nitrogen based or LN2 operations, okay. So they are to be handled in a temperature zone of minus 195 or over 200. So these are the things, and in this whole thing, what is more important is the refrigeration system. And when you have according to me so many equipments, okay, which are run to maintain the cold chain per se, there is a element of sustainability and greenness, okay, which is relevant, okay. For example, when we run our refrigerated system, so there are gases which are used according to me, which are to be ozone depletion, okay, or we call it as R143A, etc. So these are the things which matters a lot, okay. The puff panel that we use, whether it is puff normal or it is PRR, okay. So these are the things which are also matters. Combustible material, use of cyclopentan environment material is something which is also important to us in this kind of arrangement, okay. I also must mention that as Arif said, the Goda warehouse, okay, has to be designed with lots of cares, okay. Different kinds of vehicles that come in, different kinds of temperature to be maintained, monitoring system to be, and I also must tell you that pharma is not different from waste management standpoint. We have a lot of disposable waste management, healthcare specifically. We have biomedical waste, we have drugs which come back from the market, which are to be handled extremely carefully, and these are to be destroyed in an incineration or any or some other normal other than normal material, because these are all basically foils, or these are all injectables, these are all liquid which has some chemical entities. So these are also to be handled in such a way that there is a sustainability, there is a care which is to be taken. We have lot of lighting which goes into this warehousing. So LED lighting, motion sensors, MHE handling, efficient chiller plant, and right use of our electricity, or for that matter alternate energy. These are the things which warehousing has to really take care of to have a sustainability. So cold chain is one big topic, okay, which is now at the moment got a lot of attention also because of this COVID vaccine. So right now, there has been a lot of efforts which are being made by various support system of government as well as private sector to generate and create this infrastructure. We are not there as of now, but sincere attempts will be made. So there are various candidates of vaccine which are coming up, and we will get to there, okay, as time senses. I agree with Vivek that post GST, all of us are being questioned in supply chain as to when do you and how much you will bring on the table by way of saving post rationalization of taxes, which is GST. The process has begun in pharma industry. Typically we used to have about 35 consignee agents or CNF agent, we call it. And now that there are no state boundaries, we are trying to compress that number. Okay, so in my company, we have been able to bring it down to almost, half at the moment. But there will be scope. So this really, paves a way for creating yet another, consolidation center. So we are in Sanofi creating the consolidation centers. We are setting up a large warehouse of about, 150,000 square feet, which will have ultra modern, I would say, facilities like VNA and and other things, which is incidentally is developed by or rather is guided by Arif, who is also on this board. So these are the things which, according to me, okay, are important in pharma's supply chain, and moving forward, I only see that this will improve further. Because I am seeing a tangible change in the overall approach to the warehousing, and it is getting accelerated, I would say. Okay, the new parks are coming up. Companies are wanting to go to those places to upgrade ourselves. There are new guidelines, which are government guidelines like good distribution or good warehousing facility are coming. Norms are coming up. Whenever my foreign player or my foreign auditor comes, okay, he goes to the warehouse and see whether we are following the right way of warehousing, right infrastructure, right ecosystem. Okay, do we have people who have been specifically protected for narcotic drugs, or there are some drugs which are called as psychotoxics. So all these things are part of according to me generalized thing. And this will get further tightened according to me, and we have to prepare for ourselves for this type of thing. And being a pharma industry, being a regulatory industry, plays an important role. And response as a citizen of this country, we all of us have a social responsibility to have green evolution as well as the sustainability in managing our warehousing.
Thank you, Mr. Krishnakant, for the wonderful insights. Definitely, pharma has to be handled in a very cautious manner, and we cannot take any chances with those products and those compliance guidelines as well. So, moving on from here, I would like Mr. Arif and Mr. Anderson to share their insights on the role of material and technology in creating a sustainable warehouse. So specifically when we talk of materials and technology, like just to start up, like in a warehouse, what we see that steel is roughly around 60% of the biggest component, biggest contributor in terms of cost, in terms of money contribution. So what other views you have when you go and select on the materials and the technology to be used in the selection and design of warehouses? We would like to hear from you, both of you, please. Go to James first.
Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, Arif, please go ahead.
Hello, James. You can after James. After James, yeah.
Okay. Thank you to you both. Look, I think the evolution of technology is becoming very formative in the industry, and I think it's going to become more influential year on year. Why I think so? I think digital platforms are becoming very powerful because they provide the live hard data of how an asset in a park portfolio or industrial estates are operationally performing. And what I mean by that is is a cloud platform. When you integrate, again, the hardware and the software, it shows you for an industrial park the amount of energy you're producing, the amount of energy you're being consumed at any one time, your water usage, so again, how much you're using, how much you're treating, recycling, the air changes per hour. So again, the comfort level within inside a warehouse has to be good for those working within it. The differential between the internal and the external temperature is very important. It shows you how effectively you've designed your warehouse. A big thing we're looking into at the moment is actually mapping trucks and the routing of trucks around the industrial estate. It gives you a lot of data of what actually is the average distance travelled internally within the estate, what's the stop time, the park times, and again, you get a lot of intel, and that not only influences your future design, but it helps you manage the facility more effectively, in the current point in time. What is more powerful, though, and I think the sentiments that were said before, really around, again, still commercial sensitivity, and I very much agree with it. That is, it's a powerful tool to inform the customer. Okay, for us, that's the tenant and other stakeholders, because it shows you, again, the long-term operational effects the long-term operational benefits you're going to get actually being in this estate. And that is, again, around the cost of water and the cost of energy and the long-term cost association, which become far more efficient. Unfortunately, for a developer as us, that means, the capital investment, and that's very much a commitment from the organisation that actually what are we going to willing to invest and how much we're going to commit to this again, and that goes to your fundamentals and your priorities as a developer. And this tool, again, is very important for stakeholders. So I think that is a good thing. And again, design. I think we will, again, each park we do, I think the design becomes better. It becomes more efficient. And as Arif said before, you do leave a lot of corners out. Things do get missed. And again, when you look at platforms, they do keep everyone honest. So I think they're going to become a very powerful tool. So overarchingly, I think cloud-based platforms for monitoring and management will provide greater awareness and will become a differentiator in the future. In terms of materials, I have a simpler view, because I think it's kind of three prime fundamentals, and that is production, quality, and sustainability. And from the production side, steel was mentioned, and that is the quality of actually the production plant itself. There's some very good pre-engineered building manufacturers in India, and I think it's evident who they are. They lead the market quite well, and I think even their mode of operation and how they fabricate is getting far more efficient. Again, they're upgrading their machinery and technology, and they're also increasing in scale. And scale is helping everyone to become more efficient. We're all benefiting from that. So the large-scale producers are producing better. I think the quality of material is very important. And I think we've all got to pay more attention to quality, because it provides longevity and it provides efficiency over the course of the life cycle, not only in the construction, but when you look at a building that has to be maintained for 20, 30, 40 years, you do get a lot of efficiency in the life cycle, and it's not thought of because, again, we're all very conscious at the start and what rental we're achieving, what cost of construction we're achieving, etc. But long term, it has to be more of a consideration, so quality. And then sustainability, and which irreverently goes back into technology. People are producing materials with a lot more sustainable components. If you look at concrete, again, green mixes that are used in more mature markets are very, very good. A very high standard recycled componentry of aggregate and other products that go into the mix. Steel, again, in reinforcement and in your primary PB structure, a greater apportionment of recycled material. And they're the two core materials that are used throughout, but then also in everything else. Again, technology is advancing around copper recycling, etc., and that's all going to get better year on year. So I think that's moving quite well and will continue to. And therefore, that's my views on both technology as a cloud-based platform and material.
Thanks, James. I think is quite well covered. However, I will talk about a few more things. Definitely, yes. As far as the sustainability is concerned, the use of pre-engineered buildings and steel, by itself is one conscious or unconscious evolution in the country, which has actually made buildings quicker in terms of faster, more accurate and better in terms of their finish. So in terms of quality. So use of steel is something which should be encouraged, in my opinion, because that's nice and green overall and much more sustainable. So that's one. The second part, is that I think there needs to be a very concentrated effort in use of solar panels. The roofs of warehouses are huge, and there's nothing coming up there after they're constructed. And if you look at the overall square meters, I mean, when you say 2 billion square feet of houses, you actually have potentially 2 billion square feet of surface area available for you to potentially put solar panels. And you can imagine the amount of megawatt of electricity that can be generated in 2 billion square feet of area. And even if we talk about 10% of that area, you have thousands of megawatt of electricity that can be produced using this natural method, as such. So that is one thing which, and there is still a lot of dilemma between capex and opex models of using solar panels. I think there needs to be a collaboration between tenants and developers. And unless and until it is a collaborative effort between tenants and developers, we are not going to find economic viability of using solar panels, which, in my opinion, is going to be a very, very large step forwards towards green and sustainable environment. So that's the second part. Low VOC paints, I think paints is another thing that adds a lot of contamination to the Mother Earth. And more and more in pre-engineered buildings or otherwise, any steel painting that we should do, I think we should specify low VOC paint, because that's something which helps overall the Mother Earth and the green planet. So that's the other thing. Now, coming back to technology quickly, James covered, the other aspects, which are the external aspects. On the operations side, as far as the intra-warehouse design and layouts are concerned, there is huge amount of wastage of human resources, non-productive use of human beings. There's a lot of here-to-there movement of boxes. And that's something which I think the country should start looking at, using simple dumb conveyors, which will reduce the non-useful deployment of human capital. And conveyor systems and basic conveyors and systems are some things that should be looked at as far as the technology is concerned. The other aspects of technology in terms of construction is, for example, flooring. Many of the developers in India still have not spent time, and I blame architects and structural consultants, for that, for not having taken most of the developers towards the right route, or rather following them just because they did not talk about, they were not happy to spend more money. I think that should not be the constraint. We should open our mouth. We are the specialists. It is like we are the doctors of this business of construction, and therefore we shouldn't give a chance to patients to sit over our heads. Rather, give the right opinion to the patient and say that, hey, gentlemen, this is the right technology in today's times. This is what you're building, a 12-meter tall warehouse. You can't afford the floor to undulate. So you need to have good technology for flooring, otherwise your equipment, your machinery, everything is going to high maintenance. So all those aspects are important. So technology on flooring, very, very important, should be used. Technology for ventilation system, whether we talk about forced ventilation systems or we talked about natural ventilation systems, all that. So these are very, very important basic elements. Loading and unloading, our dock automation is so important. We tend to overlook the dock automation because generally by the time the docks are made, we have already spent about 1,100 or 1,200 or 1,300 rupees, and then say, oh, that's the easiest part to cut, and then you don't end up with dock levelers, you don't have no dock shelters, you don't have PVC strips, fine, because that's the last cosmetic, last part of the whole thing. And you're exhausted with all your funds, So I think these are important elements which needs to be constantly communicated by the specialists like us, all of us, to the occupiers and say, this is important for you, and I have seen that people who have their head over their shoulders are able to get convinced. There are customers like Krishna Parab, whose company has taken the first step 15 years back, to move out of a dilapidated structure or a B or a C class structure. 15 years back, took that first lead to get into a modern A-class facility 15 years back, which fortunately was designed by us. So I think customers are there to get convinced, fine, and customers want to keep their cargo in safe and secure facility. Therefore, technology, building materials, etc., are so important. It depends on how we communicate this and how we convince them.
Thank you, Arif. Thank you, James. Now I would like Neeraj. I think Pankaj sir has also joined in here, so we can hear it from him. And Pankaj,
yeah, I'm here for some good time.
Okay. Mr. Darkar heads our GEMS rating program, and he's been the guiding force behind all of us in keeping the movement ahead. And we are a very small component from the warehousing segment, but he's driving the whole thing on the national level with all different aspects covered. So over to you, Mr. Darkar.
Thank you, Gauravji, for leading today's event. In fact, this is the last event in our 7-day long conference, but for me it is one of the most important milestone which today GEM under leadership of Gauravji is going to accomplish. And we are going to today launch our sustainability guide on warehousing, and my personal thanks to Kushagra, all the team members who supported Gauravji and came out of this excellent book and also new standard which we are going to showcase to the country. But before that, I would take this opportunity to very quickly cover what ASSOCHAM is all about in terms of certification. So friends, our mission started in 1920 with 100 years completed this year. We are a team of 450,000 members working towards creating a conducive environment of India business to compete globally. I am fortunate that we are currently Niranjan Hiranandaniji, who is president of ASSOCHAM and founder and managing director of the group. And both have huge experience. They are fantastic work.
Darkarji, your voice is breaking.
Darkar sir, can you switch on your video?
He is chairman Western Group.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you kindly switch on the video, sir? It will improve the audio streaming.
It is
Switch off the video, yes.
better now.
Okay, great.
Is it better now?
It is.
Okay, thank you. So my apologies. Technology is while this time has given us a lot of good things, but yes, sometimes we can have problem. And of course, I have been assisted by Mr. Deepak Sood, who is Secretary General for ASSOCHAM. And ASSOCHAM has taken this green initiative to care for Mother Earth to complement India's sustainability movement by forming CGEM, Council for Green and Eco-Friendly Movement. Our program is based on, program can be downloaded free of cost and is based on two wonderful documents, ECBC 2017 and NBC 2016. And this program is includes sustainability, energy, water efficiency, more green areas, indoor air quality, daylight, fresh air, and human comfort. And especially to Arif Bhai, this when I was listening to you, this is the only global program, sir, which takes care of fire and life safety as a essential ingredient. Here we are giving essential credits. So creating more awareness on fire and life safety is something we do believe that any building and particularly warehouse will not be safe if all compliances are not carried out. And of course, through our lot of members, we are also trying to help government to be the Bureau of Indian Standard to ensure, like my colleague Rajneesh is already on the board, on fire and life safety. When the sizes of warehousing are growing, current National Building Code do not take care of several aspirations of warehousing industry. So we are here to suggest good points coming out of your experience, and also we are constantly striving that the building height, the warehousing stacking heights may be increased with better technology of firefighting. So we are working with FSAI jointly and doing this additional thing, which is of prime importance to all of us in ASSOCHAM GEM team. We all know that any certified buildings will give a payback of 3 to 4 years. And we know that the warehouses are being made for more than 30, 35 years, 50 years. This is the only program, sir, where we are monitoring power consumption, indoor air quality, the water consumption from a central monitoring station from Delhi. So all the buildings which are getting certified, in 20,000 rupees, we are creating this additional facility so that we are able to create a benchmarking. We are now associated with Indian Institute of Architects, NAREDCO, FSAI, ISHRE, ISLE, Global Association of Corporate Services, in IAQA and ASHRE, various chapters. So we are associated with international chapters, and I'm very glad to put on record that currently we are now recognized by the government of Rajasthan and CRISIL along with other certification agencies, and sooner we are moving towards all other states. We have varieties of projects on card, starting for pharmaceutical industry of Abbott to JK cement plant, Siemens, a giant in electrical electronics, various universities, luxurious hotels like ITC, Doubletree, Hilton, and other luxury brands of hotels. And I'm sure with your blessings, we will soon be seen in warehousing industry. We have chapters in Punjab, Rajasthan, Gujarat, which happened last year. Physical installations happened, and now this year we formed digital chapters in UP, West Bengal, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, and we have a vision to reach to 20 states by December end. We created many firsts in the country, and during this pandemic also, one of the important programs was also creating guidelines along with ISHRE, EMA, FSAI, and IPA for post-lockdown. How do we restart this industry? This was the first global standard or guideline which we came up, which went to 29 states and 6 union territories. And also on the performance contracting, we worked with Bureau of Energy Efficiency and the World Bank. How do we retrofit the current existing buildings to a better technology level? Sir, our GEM certification program is very easy. Mr. Neeraj is conducting free of cost classes to train young architects and professionals and engineers. And this program, exam can be given online anytime with an open book. We had a mission of 100 universities, and I'm glad to put on record that we did 62 MOUs with various universities in this pandemic time. And during this 7 days, we have covered more than 8,000 delegates. And this is the last day of our session. So thank you. We had close to 120 speakers from 10 countries, and it was a wonderful event arranged by our events team under the chairmanship of Rajneesh and Neeraj. We created all records in this pandemic time of 8 months. We created 62 MOUs with universities, 10 MOUs with various societies, more than 60 webinars. We went to more than 75,000 delegates. So it was a phenomenal work done by entire team. So we are here to create the dream of our Prime Minister to create a green and environmental sustainable country. And next, Sir Parab Sahab, I can assure you that sooner we will come up with our standards on cold chain and refrigeration. I have headed India from ISHRE on refrigeration front, and we have done the largest events for refrigeration and cold chain in past. And with ASSOCHAM support, I'm sure this is something which is a need of country. We
Yeah.
need to also see how the multiple temperature cold storages and cold chains, once the vaccine important goes away in 10 months time, 12 months time, 1 year, 2 years time, what do we do with those cold chains which will get created as a immediate need? So there are several products which can be, and that is something which we'll have to see, the country has to see, because this requires 70,000 crores of investment, and this is where we will like to work with all the eminent panelists and people attending this, and this is something which country needs. So this is the area which we will really like to focus in the near future, immediately after the standard today's drop. So thank you once again, and let us launch this fantastic work which Gauravji has come up with. So over to you, Neeraj. Can you just help me with this launch?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
It was excellent.
Yeah. So Gauravji, Karkarji, and Rajnishji, with your permission, we would like to launch the ASSOCHAM Green Building Certification Rating for warehouse and logistic hubs. So Karan, will you please help us in displaying the video? Thank you so much, Karan. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you, all the panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic job done. I think I should congratulate all of them. Fantastic.
All credits to Gauravji, sir. I think he has been our leader for this.
No, this is the need of the town, hour.
Yes.
To migrate to a next level of warehousing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a continuous process, Darkar Sahib. It has to go on to a next level and next level.
Absolutely, Krishna. Sophie, your is done by us in terms of everything and all services.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Gauravji, now we have with us Mr. Anil Das ji. Anil Das ji is the VP Sales, Air Care Engineering. Yeah. Gauravji, over to you.
To hear from you that if you could share your views on indoor air quality for warehouse space, its relevance and impact. So the products and solutions which you are developing are also in that direction as well.
Okay.
So over to you, Mr. Das.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the nice introduction and all the panelists and distinguished guests here. Well, with reference to the question of how indoor air quality affects people, specifically in the warehouse business, not only warehouses, but any enclosed space has to be taken seriously with the current situation of the pandemic. With people in occupied spaces, the need for more ventilation is suggested, as recirculating air has higher chances of infection spread through airborne particles. Again, we are only diluting the chances of acquiring the infection by ventilation, but actually not eliminating the threat. But again, it increases the cost of adding more tonnage to the HVAC system in case you are an air-conditioned warehouse. Okay, so primarily people think, and when they get back to work, that they remove their masks. Okay, two ways COVID is spreading. One is through surface-prone infection. The other one is airborne. So masks and social distancing should be continued, specifically to mandate people to continue to wear masks where people are working for long hours in indoor spaces, primarily in warehouses. Okay, and with on Monday's discussion, Mr. BK Singh had also mentioned to increase ventilation, to add indoor air quality products. Okay, anything that will help human occupancy, be safe. Okay, so given this current situation of right now in northern India, where the AQI outside itself is in the hazardous level, how do you do that ventilation when the air outside is in the hazardous level? So that's where the need for air purification systems is required in warehousing as well. But right now, there is no silver bullet to claim that it is a COVID-free space, because one, people coming in, you do the regular mandatory temperature check, okay, but people do not show signs or symptoms till the 10th or the 12th day. What happens till then? If they are positive, they are good carriers of the virus and they continue to infect people around them. Probably on the 10th or the 12th day, they should, like how Mr. Arif said, a lot of young people come to work in warehouses and they are strong, and the virus takes time for it to show its symptoms. Now, we at AirCare are indoor air quality expert, and have found that among all the technologies available, needle point bipolar ionization is something that has struck our attention. And we have been working with this technology for the past 2 years, okay? And indoor air quality has never taken a front step till the pandemic struck in. Indoor air quality was always the last that people would look at. Now, this needle point bipolar ionization has been published by various news articles, that even by Business Insider, that it could be the solution for the COVID-19, okay? One, it basically helps in eliminate particle reduction. Now, in spaces, the COVID does not transport itself on its own. People are the transport mechanism for COVID to go. That's how it spreads. Two ways, surface flown and aerosol based. That's why we are subjected to wear a mask as a mandate. Now, when somebody coughs, the tiny particles of the saliva can fall down due to gravity, but the really tiny particles can get suspended in the air. And when the air flows across the space, anybody breathing in can be subjected to get positive. That is the need for people to continue to wear masks. And at some point, people do remove that. So that is where air purification system is to be made a mandate, okay? And the technology that supports this is needle point bipolar ionization. It basically acts on agglomeration of particle matter, and particle matter can agglomerate together and it can fall down and can get sucked by the return air, and that's how filtration can also help. Okay, it has also been suggested that these particles, okay, do not the needle point bipolar ionization produces both positive and negative ions, and these help attach positive and negative particles together, okay, and therefore this ionization products also do not produce any ozone, which is also safe for people occupants. Okay, they also have UL 2998 certification, which does not produce any ozone as a byproduct. And one of our recent installations is with the Cadila Pharmacy, their entire corporate office, their MD's house, their university, in every building of theirs, they have installed this, basically with a technology that has been proven by a lab test result, which shows about 99.4% kill rate, which is proved by an independent UL certified lab. So this is where we would request or make it an important thing for people to continue wear masks if you do not have an air purification system in place. That's where I would put it at.
Thank you, Mr. Das. Thank you for the insights into your
Mr. Das,
solution.
yeah. Mr. Das, do you want to share your PPT as well, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
Now
you have the right, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just let me. Well, I would like to thank all of you for this introduction, and Mr. Pankaj Darkar, Mr. Neeraj, Mr. Amit, the entire team of ASSOCHAM for this symposium, and I've been following this very diligently and to be part of the discussion and presentation today. Now, I'll quickly dive into how we as a HVAC company have over the years looked at the various challenges that we face to overcome these challenges in a cost-effective and efficient way. And in terms of warehousing, we have always seen, like how Mr. Arif said, that it is at 12 meters high, and with a temperature-controlled environment like for pharmaceutical places, where the ducts are at 30 feet or 35 feet high, and even though we are releasing cold air at that height, by the time it reaches down, okay, the heat kind of dissipates the cold air, and you get temperatures about 27 or 29 degrees. Okay, and you are cooling a large amount of space, okay, where human occupants are not there. So that itself increases your tonnage. What if we can reduce that tonnage? 2, we are also looking at uniform temperature, which is not sometimes achieved throughout the warehouse. And 3rd, maintaining those ducts, or nobody ever maintains the ducts, and maintaining those AHUs is also a big challenge. This is where Air Care Engineering, okay, and its team have always looked at new and emerging technologies in the HVAC systems. So I will straight away get into what is a air rotation system and how we look at it. It just basically is a vertical AHU with no ducts. So basically we eliminate the usage of ducts, which saves you a lot of time in terms of installation for constructing new warehouses, okay, and it can cool large spaces and have even temperatures throughout the space. Now, this is the modular design wherein you have the discharge on top, and each unit can go to a maximum of 1,70,000 CFM, which is here. The high efficiency fans are here, and a maximum tonnage of up to 600 tons per unit. The larger the size, you will need to add in another vertical AHU. It can be wall mounted, wherein the throw is on the top and the return air is at the bottom. It's basically an air rotation that happens. Now, you can, if you have a space constraint, you can always mount it outside, okay, and you can have these vents placed throughout. You can have the cold air coming in and return air. You can also have it at the center, wherein we did a project, a first ductless air conditioning project with a organization in Hyderabad, and we have been able to achieve even temperatures even at all the 4 corners, which was prescribed, even if you're standing in this either at the center or in all corners. Now, typically we are looking nothing less than 25-30,000 square feet and above. Okay, and there have been a lot of usage of this in various applications. We will stick to warehouses for today. This is how it looks on the outside. You have the air throw from top and the return air being sucked in from bottom. If in case it is inside, the only piping that needs to come is your chilled water piping. Okay. Now this is basically a 40 million square feet of manufacturing warehouse and distribution center, okay, which has been used by the vertical air handling unit. Now, there was this major aircraft manufacturing company which initially had planned to use conventional rooftop units of about 42 rooftop units against only 6 air rotation units. So you see the number of utilities, the number of installations, the number of maintenances that has been reduced drastically, okay, for a 250,000 square feet. And since if you have to have ducts, you cannot bring it down because there is a crane and it is an aircraft hangar. So this is where you get a uniform temperature where the air rotation happens across the building. So we eliminate, the use of ducting. We have easy installation setup where utilities and less number of utilities are required for this, and a single point solution connectivity. Okay, a lot of savings happens on the fans. It is a very low HP fan, and ground level service is available for this because you don't have to, number of units are reduced, so you have single point of contact. And coming to where we would look at in terms of building, these are, I'm talking for existing, it's a good retrofit for existing warehouses, and for newer warehouses, if you're looking at a movable warehouse, this is where we come in. Okay, a new paradigm shift in building warehouses. I'm sure you would have seen people who have traveled across the globe have seen air structures, and this is a new paradigm shift in people moving towards warehouses where this can be moved from place to place. Because right now land is very expensive and people are reducing their lease period. That is what we have experienced. And once you have to move out with a permanent structure, there is a lot of loss of the place itself. Okay, and real estate prices right now are low, but it will still pick up. So what if you got a place that you can roll it up, pack and move and reinstall it again? It's used in a lot of other verticals as well. Like I said, warehousing is also where it is prominently used. Basically, you define the flooring. Apart from the flooring, you don't pack anything else. Okay, you just need 2 feet of concrete down and the flooring. And once you have this, we have people movement door, which is airlock doors, and you have a pressurization and an air conditioning unit, which basically keeps the temperature and also the pressurizes the building. It's nothing but a structure that stands on air, and you have a backup generator also that comes along with this. You have vehicle airlock doors for logistics trucks to move in and move out. Once these are set up and you put the fabric on, you put the wires and you pressurize the unit. Entire setup takes only about 15 to 20 days. Okay, considering the design and everything in place and the flooring in place, the setting up of this to be fully functional and operational is only about 15 to 20 days. Okay, now same thing with the conventional building. We would go anywhere between 3 to 6 months if you go on a fast track mode, the conventional way. This is where we say we put concrete and aluminum steel extrusion rods. We put it onto a steel angle, and then a cantilever basically holds the building from swaying. We can give you a width of about column free space of about 340 feet wide and length at any length. So the maximum we've gone at about 4 lakh square feet area. So this is how the air rotation also is similar, like how we spoke about in my previous slide. We talked about air rotation unit. So this is how it pressurizes the building. The air is rotated and the return air comes back to here. So these are actual sites where the air rotation units are put in the side here, and we have vehicle airlock doors that are used for transporting goods inside and out. You get a lot of natural sunlight into this. So with buildings, there is a challenge of power consumption. With this, you can have natural sunlight all day long, which reduces a significant amount of electricity saved. Okay, you have options of opaque, translucent, and with skylight. This is a facility which is about 80,000 square feet where they're actually manufacturing domes. You also can have buildings attached to it, either on the external or even inside the a structure. You can have restroom, reception areas, lobbies, etc. Since time is short, I'm just running quickly through this, and this is the external view where you have a permanent building attached to it where the offices can be, and then people can access it through inside. Now this is a 2 lakh square feet area where logistics is happening here. You see, even a 40-foot container can get in and get out. It meets IBC standard, International Building Code. The polyurethane membrane, fabric membrane is non-combustible. It is fire retardant. Okay, it meets safety standards. It is considered a building. Okay, so that's why it has got an IBC standard. Okay, it meets safety standard. When I say in India, the Nirav is about 140 kilometers what was recorded, the cyclone Nirav, and these can go up to 180 miles per hour. It has withstood Hurricane Katrina. It has withstood a lot of hurricanes that have hit the coastal areas in the US, and these are still standing even after 30 years. Okay, so these are the options that you have. In India, we get a maximum of about 150 kilometers per hour. That is the max of wind speed you got, for which a double grade cable would suffice. This is all. Yes.
Anil, are these existing in India at the moment somewhere?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Last year we were in touch with a company that was about to install this, but it just put a hold because of the COVID. But yes, the talks are on. It is for there are various applications. This is for a large stadium.
Correct. But it's really very, very innovative, I would say, thing, yeah. It's an innovation in the warehousing space, according to me.
So
path-breaking technology.
Path-breaking, correct.
So most places, at least in South, where I have seen, is people lease out their land for warehouses, and the moment they change, it's a real life incident where the guy's daughters were getting married, and he said he just asked the guys to vacate. Okay, right. There's so much pressure. So even though you have a lease, and after you finish your lease of 10 years or 15 years, and you have to walk out, you're leaving a structure like that and walking out. That's a huge investment that you made, looking at a time frame of over 30 years minimum. So you have not got your kickbacks or your return on investment yet.
Okay. And this addresses precisely the issue.
Yes. So with this, you have even temperatures across the all corners of the building, and it can be in any shape, not necessarily a square or a rectangle. It can be in any shape, but the width is limited to 340 feet wide, but it can go at any length.
And would it get recognized as from the fire safety standpoint from the regulator?
Yes.
Okay.
It will.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Das. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity.
We come close to the closure and the sum up. We would like to have one call from Mr. Dahiya that what exactly does he feel should be included in our rating system so that we do a green, sustainable environment, and developers, the 3PL people all start supporting this. So we would like to hear from you because you are the facilitator at the nodal point. So how to go about it? We would like your views for that.
So thanks, Gaurav. In fact, we were discussing this before the event as well. Should transport get included in something like this or not, or can that become a part of something like this or not? So, the thing there is, whenever we do take a decision with our clients on the most ideal location for their warehouse, transport or access or the route from raw materials and then the transport to the consumer becomes a very, very critical factor in deciding what's the correct center of gravity for them. If let's say if it's an FMCG company and they're getting raw material from north of India, if then they're based in Delhi, should they have a warehouse in the north of Delhi, or if the consumers are towards South Delhi, Central Delhi, Gurgaon, should they have the consumer there? So what's the right center of gravity depending on the client that is there? But when it comes to transport, I think, as you rightly mentioned in your statement, that's a conversation you should be having specifically with the 3PL firms. We can't include that as a part of the rating for a box for a real estate asset. So that's not possible. That could be a conversation in terms of the carbon footprint of that particular firm who's probably using that build to suit large facilities. So that's a conversation that can be done with them. Also, to add to another point, and this probably answers one of the points that was discussed earlier in this discussion. The industrial clients have been slightly more conscious of sustainability historically than the warehousing clients. Their life cycle in that asset is longer. They're not signing short-term leases. They're signing 10, 20-year leases. Their lock-ins are longer. They are the ones who have asked us more questions of sustainability in the past. So warehousing is something which we've seen in the last 3 to 4 years, but industrial clients have been in India for the longest, and across the country, when it comes to solar that we discussed and other elements, they've ended up asking us more. So there could be, I think you could probably widen the spread if you could include industrial as well, because those clients, these are large multinationals or large Indian conglomerates who have a charter on sustainability, who look at green building, green boxes very seriously, and have done it even earlier, even pre-COVID, even before the warehousing boom came to India. They've been very, very proactive on that. So that's one suggestion that I could give with regard to increasing the palette for you, and because it's same kind of boxes, similar kind of locations. Industrials are slightly more on the outskirts compared to warehousing. Warehousing is still closer to consumption centers, but their interest in making sure that their plant is sustainable is significantly high. We've noticed far more number of our industrial clients look at something like that. And then, of course, the element, and I'm sure you've done this in your discussions with regards to cold storages and temperature controlled warehouses. They also have an impact rather than just a simple warehouse. So just pack it in, pack it out is a very simple, not a temperature controlled or not a cold storage warehouse. So that classification, I'm sure you've done and you would have taken care of. Just one point that I also wanted to highlight, and this is regarding the conversation that was done on solar panels. And I just wanted to share an anecdotal experience with regard to putting solar panels on warehouses. We're doing the build to suit transaction for similar one of our clients, and the conversation came on that is the steel structure roof designed to take in the strength for putting solar panels on top. So are the standard specifications of grade A warehousing development or industrial development across the country, do they have enough roof strength? Some might not. But it's very easy for a layman to say that, I want my box to be sustainable. Let's put a solar panel on top. In principle, everybody agrees. But when you go have a conversation with the structural team or the projects team, they say, hang on, we had not anticipated so much of load on the terrace, so we need to increase the load. So that's one conversation that everybody needs to keep in mind. The second thing is, which is very interesting, which was also a fallout of this conversation, that if you have a solar panel on top, do you really need insulation inside? Right? So, and if you do, then how much of insulation do you? And that's where a landlord and a tenant has to speak very closely and interact very closely. They would have to plan through the benchmarks that you've created, that fine, if we have designed for solar panels to on the top, you're actually saving your capex on insulation inside the box. And these are the kind of conversations that people will start having now, which they were never thinking of having about 3 to 4 years ago. But because the market is evolving, people are becoming more and more mature about these. we are having those very relevant conversations in terms of how to eventually make the warehousing asset international class grade A in India, whatever new project that comes up. So that's the final submission from my side.
Thank you. Point well taken. I think we need to add industry as a specific area and address their concerns as well. And Mr. Krishnakant, we would like to hear from you just a quick one. That what are the from a developer, what are your basic bare minimum expectations when you look at leasing a facility, which is like non-negotiable? If you could share some thoughts.
Unmute yourself.
Pranab, you're on mute.
Okay, from the user standpoint, I told you that warehousing is evolving fast in India, but it has to still accelerate and move forward, at a high speed, okay, to cope up with the high demand. Traditionally RCC warehouses are going away, so I will look forward to the warehousing which is no more even 10 meters, but 12 to 13 meters of height, with a very sound plinth that we talked about, load bearing capacities, FM2 grade material for, flooring. Good ecosystem is something which is very essential, and therefore it should be, according to me, a multi, customer or multi, user facility. I also, want to state here that, specific to pharma, unlike, other industries, FMCG, we are a regulated industry, and therefore we are governed by, good distribution or good warehousing guidelines. Good, protocols are to be followed for warehousing. That is one thing which I would expect from the new facilities that are coming out. One of the common point which comes up is the HSE and fire safety. So many of those warehouses, of the old-fashioned warehouses, were not, as Arif said, were not really equipped to do that. When we really, 15 years back, when we moved from a Arihant warehouse of, Kaler Bhiwandi to, Mahape or Porvedpe, which is a, modern warehouse at that time. One of the reasons behind that was HSE and also fire safety. So, so this is one thing which will be, followed very, very strictly in time to come, because please imagine that we in pharma store, my one injection MR something like 4,000 rupees a vaccine. It's a huge value at stake, and therefore companies of our status cannot take a risk, while handling this material. So, I would give a lot of importance to power availability, multi-client facility, the, the robustness of the warehouse, which should be safe, okay, and steady. I also want to stress upon one more point is that, when you have a large warehouse, you tend to use mechanized, machine handling equipment. And therefore, there should be proper care, okay, for HSE standpoint, and preventive system should be in place. CCTV, or, this insulation, etc., is taken for granted now, but this is also an important thing. When we talk about, the hazards, or when you talk about the safety, it implies that you ensure that you have a strong contingency plan for business continuity standpoint if something goes wrong, okay, which is very, very essential. When we talk about green, facilities, solar energy is one thing which comes to our mind. As Arif said, there's a tremendous potential. Of course, we have to address weight bearing aspect, etc. But when we are creating a new warehouse, I would, insist that, we keep all these things into mind. The decorum of the warehouse, the exit gate, the, loading, unloading bays, as he said, is very essential, which needs to be, really followed. One of the things which also comes to our mind is the, that we have in pharma, as Arif said, we have lots of stuff which is, basically a reverse logistic by way of waste or biological waste or bio waste which comes back as a date expiry products, and this disposal methodology or mechanism should be in place when you create a warehouse. Water, okay, is something which should be in place. The system should be placed in rainwater storage tank or efficient irrigation. We have seen that when the rain comes, it really washed away. There were instances in B1D or for that matter in Chennai some time back where a huge wastage happened because the warehouses were not really created in keeping this in mind, and with a lot of natural calamities are happening around. Okay, we should be really efficient in that aspect as well. And carbon emission, I spoke, so we use a lot of gases in our warehouses when it comes to cold chain or dry ice handling, or for that matter, our refrigeration system. So this gas methodology has to be changed, according to me, to meet the Paris Agreement, which all of us know we have to have those, target fix up. And of course, company of our status do not mind, spending a bit, few bucks more, okay, but to be compliant, because we want to really showcase to the world that we are, we are following the global guidelines or the mandates which have been, set up for us. So for me, these are the things which, I will look forward. And obviously, when you have this large warehouses, man management is very essential. So adequate training, by the service provider is something which has to happen. There are lots of regulations which we follow in pharma, okay, by way of monitoring of the cold chain, excursion reports, psychotoxic drug, narcotics drugs, which has a specific handling procedures. And these are the things which which can happen only if we have efficiency. So I would take this as a package to ensure that we really create a warehouse which complies with all this requirement which I have in my mind. So these are the inputs from me.
I think with the end users demanding
from the end user standpoint,
so when the end users demand good quality spaces, definitely we are all duty bound to deliver and perform. No doubt about it. So I would like to again thank all panelists for their time and their effort in supporting this endeavor and supporting our launch. And I would request Mr. Rajneesh to sum up the session and the events of over the week that happened.
Thank you, Gaurav-ji. Am I audible? Yeah, thank you. Because I didn't speak for last 90 minutes, so I wanted to check. This was such a spellbinding seminar. In fact, you always keep the best for the last. And today, this is the 14th seminar in the series of 7 days events. And we really were looking forward to the last, final over of the evenings, because that is the most exciting over. And thanks to, first of all, Gaurav-ji for bringing such a beautiful team of experts together. He has covered all the important aspects, whether they are the end users or they are the specialists of warehousing, or they have the marketing knowledge leaders like Mr. Daya. Thanks, Mr. James Anderson, for sharing the truly different perspective which we used to see in India from now. Thank you, Arif-ji. Some very good points you have made. I really like the point which you said that the human efforts wastage is also very important, sustainable, the movement, unnecessary movement to be curtailed. Thank you, Anil Das-ji, for thinking out of the box and showing us something which doesn't normally, we follow the conventional methods. Thank you, Mr. You really highlighted the end user's perspective very well. I think Kushagra also did a wonderful job of, stepping in and highlighting whatever points were useful. Some very good points which I could come out. One point was very well made, that the offsite build in the construction should be encouraged. So the quality goes up, the expertise comes in, and the wastage doesn't get thrown around the construction site. So that is a very important thing. Use of steel it should be now encouraged. The class A coming up versus class B. I remember for a long number of years when we were younger, we used to hear the word go down, and warehousing was something which replaced that over a period of time. And I believe we made a change in our thinking paradigm by shifting this term. And today, when I was hearing to all the gentlemen here, I was thinking that such a good thought has gone into this whole. People have started recognizing that warehousing are not godowns. They are not just storage spaces. They are living spaces, and there are a number of ways where you can make your building green, whether you are using better construction materials, or you're using more energy efficient equipment, or you're using a better logistics around the facility, which architects like Gauravji do, adding their value to us. And one point which Mr. Dhaya was taking up, that there could not be any premium as such for greener facilities. Yes, I agree. In fact, this present COVID situation has brought Darwin's old theory that survival of the fittest, and the fittest could be the most efficient here in today's scenario. We have lesser number of customers coming in, but then this is a temporary phase. This COVID will teach us how to appreciate better quality in coming times. And I personally, I am a MEP consultant, and we also have started doing a lot more industrial and warehousing projects in the past. I'm currently doing a wonderful ASRS warehouse, automatic supply and retrieval system, which is something not so popular here in this part of the country. And yes, I understand that the cost is a big taboo, the cost, because warehousing as a cost element of your finished product and sale is always seen as an undesirable component. But then I would advocate that making a green project is definitely, it's a myth that it is costlier. It is definitely cheaper. In fact, sustainability is affordability. This is the new mantra that we at ASSOCHAM GEM are trying to promote, that think bigger, do not look at the today's cost only. Yes, today's cost also can be reduced by using systems like Anil Das ji just highlighted, by using better HVAC, lighting. Mindless designing should be curtailed. It should be very focused, functional approach which has to be taken up. Better logistics, everything contributes to making a economical project, but not a cheaper product. The difference is between the cheaper and efficient product. And I am sure that when such a great team of end users, designers, consultants, everybody sits together, I am sure the end product is definitely more cost effective than the conventional products which we have been making and offering to our clients. I would not like to take a lot of time because it's already 6:04. I would simply like to acknowledge that we at GEM ASSOCHAM did almost more than 5 dozen programs in the COVID period, maybe more. In fact, if I add this current series of 14, we would be maybe doing around 80, right, Neeraj? Around 80 programs in this time. And in the last 14 days, we have had attendance of almost 4,500 people in these seminars. And another equal number of people who have visited our expo. We have utilized this time, whatever time we have saved out of our travel, day-to-day travel in and between the cities, and tried to, devote a little bit of time to ASSOCHAM, and under the leadership of Mr. Dharkar, it has really come out very well. We have really made a lot of people aware, and the new rating systems, like today being launched on the warehouse, have added their own importance. And my thanks to the entire team of GEM ASSOCHAM members in this program and in other programs who have contributed a very important part of their time and energy in making this series of events successful. My sincere thanks to Neeraj and his team. Neeraj is heading the program as a director, and his entire team, Amit Kumar Sharma, Harish Pushpankar, Deepak Chawla, Rohit Bhasin, and my vice chair for events, Moni Khanna. We all have been, almost talking more to each other than we have been talking to our spouses. So we have really, made a great team, and my sincere thanks to the entire team for doing this wonderful effort. And thank you everyone once again for joining us here and making this program successful. Over to you, Neeraj.
That's it. Thank you so much, Rajneesh ji, for the wonderful summing up this session and the entire mega event. Thank you so much. And as Rajneesh ji mentioned, this was our last day, 7th day and last webinar. And in last 7 days, more than 4,500 attendees visited visitors visited Expo also. So we did it first time, the virtual mega event, and it was very of success. So, Darkar Saab, would you like to add something? Unmute, sir. The final remarks.
No, I mean, I have no words to express my thanks to Gauravji. Such eminent lineup of speakers who are stalwarts in the warehouse industry and customers. So, extremely thankful to you, sir. And also, super special thanks to my events team, Chair Rajneesh ji, Moni, and entire back office team, including you yourself, Neeraj ji, Amit, Harsha, and everybody. I may be missing somebody's name. I think you deserve a good drink today evening and a good. I mean, I've been disturbing you for virtually. You are not sleeping for more than 3 to 4 hours in last 7 days. So have a good rest. I will not call you today. So
that's virtual. Have a virtual drink.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for inviting all of us. It was very good learning for us. Well, yeah.
Just to add,
impressive about your green initiatives are really impressive.
I will give him tomorrow a task on green warehouse in terms of cold storage and cold chain.
Correct.
We should have a green standard for that.
Right. And Anil's presentation was also thought-provoking and innovative.
Thank you, Mr. Krishna.
Yeah, we'll connect with you sometime, Anil.
Yes, sure. Look forward to it.
Right.
Would you like to add, Arif Saab?
Neeraj ji, I would request all our panelists to get their warehouses enrolled and registered with ASSOCHAM. And as a special venture from my end and Neeraj ji's support and everybody, we would be offering around a 40% discount on the registration till end of this year.
Okay.
All projects will get registered within this year till 31st of December. We get a special discount. So we would request all to get their projects registered and get them green certified at the earliest.
We'll do that. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, great. Chalo. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dasa.
Thank you, Mr. Gaurav. Thank you, Mr. Darkar.
Thank you, Das sir. Thank you, Gaurav sir. Thank you, Pankaj sir.
Thank you, ji.
Thank you, Harish ji.
Thank you.
करण जी थैंक यू सबसे बड़ा थैंक यू आपको करण जी
वेलकम सर वेलकम करें बंद करें अब